ClusterJ is a servlet cluster system. That is a system that allows an organization to gather a set of machines and make them work as one. The basic architecture of ClusterJ is a set of machines that are combined to fulfill a client's request and the machine with more resources available. So the basic setup is a primary server which runs a Tomcat server which by itself hosts the ClusterJ Cluster Management API. Later, you have the secondary server, which is a Tomcat hosting the Node Management API. And in the same machine, you have the tertiary server, which is a Tomcat running the users.wars, that is his web archives. The setup has its own database, that is a MySQL server, which has a database holding a set of information required by the cluster: the user accounts, the organizations, the clusters, the nodes, the machines, either physical or virtual, the ports available to be used by the Tomcats in the cluster system. So you have the primary server, and this primary server communicates with a set of machines. These machines can be physical or virtual, and each one of them runs one Tomcat that is the secondary server, and this secondary server is hosting the ClusterJ Node Management API. This web application is responsible for managing the cluster, and in the same machine running the secondary server also runs a set of Tomcats that runs the users.wars. Each of these Tomcat is the tertiary server, and the tertiary server, it handles the user database. So if you have a cluster of 3 nodes, each one of these Tomcats will handle the same database. So the flow, in simplified way, comes from the client request, goes to the primary server, to the ClusterJ Cluster Management API. The primary server will decide which of the machines in the setup will execute the request and passes the request to the tertiary server. The tertiary server runs the code to perform the request, handles the data back to the primary server, and the primary server gets a response back to the client. And that's it in general terms of the overall architecture of ClusterJ. The next video will talk in more detail about the primary server. Thank you very much for your attention.